Mebs.
Hey, I'm Crystal.
I'm Chandra.
And we're the Downtown Girls. And today I want to kick it off with a question. How did NYC make you? Now, we're all from different places. I'm from Philly. She's from D.C. She's from Chicago. But, we moved to New York, 17, 18 years old?
17.
Yeah. I thought you were about to say 17 years ago. I was
No,
like, girl.
17, 18 years old, which is like mad young.
Crazy.
To be living in New York City, essentially on your own. And, for me, I always say that, New York City pretty much, raised me, but LA taught me how to be an adult because of, you don't feed that meter on time, you getting a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
But New York was okay, first time I had to, pay rent, pay bills.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would say that New York taught me a certain level of lawlessness because I feel like DC is very political. There are certain routes you go to get things done. Even in the hood, people know there's an uncanny level in the water of people knowing how to work the government to get what they need. It's very natural, but New York was like, oh, throw all that shit out the way, bitch. Just do it the raw way, whatever way is necessary. And I feel like it taught me about crime.
By any means necessary.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I think New York really taught me that I was always going to be okay. Because there were some times that were just so hard. I just remember being so broke at one point. I was just basically eating beans out of a can. I was cooking them first. I was saucing them up. But I was like, damn, this is horrible. This is a mess. But no matter how bad it got, it always worked out. I was always okay. So I think it gave me a level of faith that is carried me through adulthood. I'm still trying to go with that. Everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. That whole, if you can make it in New York City, you can make it anywhere. All right. So today we're going to talk about college and if it is a scam or if it's not a scam. Going to NYU at that young age, I realized that I was not at an age to really make those kinds of decisions for myself, to decide that I was going to spend $50,000 a year on an education that I wasn't sure how it was actually going to be fruitful, going to drama school. So what were your expectations in your just college pursuit, applying?
Stardom. 100%. 100%. I looked at the roster of alum, said, oh, okay, some heavy hitters have gone to this school.
Clearly, right. You're like, oh, you go to NYU, and it's you're going to make it. You're going to be a star.
I didn't even really think I was going to need to graduate. I thought it was going to be kind of a quick thing, maybe 2 years, walking on the street, discovery. Just 100%. I thought I would become a star.
That, I feel like, well, I remember when I got my NYU admissions letter, the big, thick package, right?
Wait, or did you get that little invitation to that thing in the school?
That was me.
I didn't get it. I didn't get an invitation. But I remember this day like the back of my hand because I was in senior year, obviously. It was the day of our high school musical ragtime. I was the star. And I was feeling myself because my father drove the package to school to give it to me, because obviously if it's a big package, hopefully that means good things. And so he gave it to me, and I opened it in front of all the drama nerds in the auditorium, and they were like, "You're going to NYU!" Yeah, I was
you were confident
because of the package. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't leading up to it. I had no idea. Honestly, it felt like the biggest shot in the dark. I was like, it literally. I mean, only in the dramatic way a 17-year-old or 16-year-old can. I had decided that fate was, a part of this. I was like, if I get into NYU, I will be an artist. And if I don't, then maybe I'll be something else. I don't know. But that was really how I was feeling. And so it really did feel like, okay, here we go. Here,
No, I applied to a bunch of weird schools. It was NYU or bust, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it was only going to be at NYU because I was like, I'm not about to pay all these application fees. This is ridiculous. I'd barely even want to go to school to begin with. But my guidance counselor was like, this is a stretch. This school is a stretch.
Yeah, I know.
And not because of me. It wasn't personal. It was just I'm, from Philly, Southwest, went to regular schools. And she's like, we need to put some safeties here. But at the time, I was like, this fucking bitch is trying to call me dumb or something. Like, what is going on here? So I was like, all right, let me put some other schools. But honestly, if I didn't get into NYU, I don't know what's.
I mean, my guidance counselor pretty much did call me dumb. Wherever you at, bitch. I mean, she didn't call me dumb, but I didn't even know what NYU was. Like, another girl who was in my drama class, she was applying to NYU, and I started reading about it through her, and I was like, oh my God, this sounds amazing. Like, I'm gonna go to this school. And so then I told my guidance counselor I wanted to apply, and she was just like, Chandra, I don't think that's gonna be a good use of your time. And you have to pay for applications, right?
Yeah.
Like, you get like 5 free, whatever. She's like, I just don't think it's also going to be a waste of your money. And luckily, I told my African American history teacher, Miss Thurman, who was everything to me, what I was like, I don't think I'm going to apply. Like, I don't think I'm going to get in. That's what my guidance counselor said. And she was like, you going to let this white lady tell you what you can be and what you can do.
Okay.
And the way she put that battery in my back, I was like, you know what? You're right. I don't even know this bitch. You know what I'm saying? I didn't come to this office once in my life, and she telling me what I can and can't do. So I applied that way. But I had the same thing as you, Amanda, where essentially there was like a leak our year at NYU where some people received an invitation to like a pre-event, like
join us for like
family and friends.
Family and friends at the square.
Yeah. And so, but it was not the official like NYU invitation. So literally just sitting around being like, did I get in? Didn't I? And I called the school.
Me too.
Yeah, and was like, hey, did I get in? And they were like, well, we can't officially say anything, but it's a pretty good chance. And I was also in drama class, and I did start crying, and it was beautiful.
Real
we must have called the same day and got the same guy. It's just like basically,
we called back to back.
Basically, if you get in this, like, I can't say it officially,
it's a
but
good
like,
sign.
We wouldn't ask you to come. So why drama school versus like just going out into the real world, trying to get an agent and then taking just acting classes at night?
Easy. I mean, I didn't know. Like, I really had no idea how to pursue this career. Like, I knew I wanted to do this. I mean, acting is all I've ever really wanted to do. Like, I've never had a backup. When I was 5, I decided I wanted to be a flight attendant, but that was very short-lived. But, primarily, this is all I've wanted to do. And so but there was nobody, I didn't know anyone who was doing this, right? Like, I didn't know anybody who was an actor. I didn't know anybody who was in entertainment, period. So I didn't really have a path to follow.
Right.
So the only thing that seemed viable was like, okay, people saying there are drama programs at school. And I'm like, well, shit, I guess I'll go there and they'll teach me how to do it. Because I don't know.
For sure.
I feel that because it's like I didn't really know the path of just like real world how to make it in America. Like, my parents are refugees, and I'm the first person to even navigate this whole system. So I was like, okay, well, let me try to incorporate as much structure as I can that I think will make it easier for me. And so I was like, and I really did expect that it would kind of move like corporate America in a way. Like, you go to school, you get a degree, and then from there, the jobs just
acting jobs, just throwing.
Yeah.
Naivete of 17-year-old me.
I think that makes sense. I think it is really incredible to think that the three of us are very much outsiders to this industry, because getting to NYU, all of a sudden we all were met with this world of kids that their mom and their dad were in the business, or they were like descendants in like third generation, this, that, or the third. And like, amazing, good for y'all. But like, we were absolutely winging it. I would say the biggest thing for me with deciding drama school was the risk, because I come from a family of 2 teachers. So like, my father was an AP US history teacher. My mom was a preschool teacher. So like, school was always going to be school. Like, that was not an issue. It was always, you're going to school. But like, being an artist and deciding to go to a drama school as opposed to, I applied and got into a lot of places. Y'all know I'm an egghead. Like, I was potentially going to go to Occidental because Barack Obama went there. Like, You know, like, I had just read that book, and my grandma was like, "You should go to that school," and I was like, "Okay, I'll apply." Like, I had gotten into Northwestern, Emerson. Like, I had gotten
in a better track than me,
yes,
baby.
I had gotten in schools across the country.
I was probably gonna go to Arcadia University. I know where the fuck.
No,
I had good back.
Yeah, no,
I
had schools on deck, but it was just like, are you gonna really do it or not, Crystal? Like, are you gonna like do the scarier thing, which is like go to New York and there's no safety net. So to me, it was like stepping away from a safety net of school, academia in that type of way, and being like, do this instead.
Mm-hmm. And getting there, like, I had this like idea of what NYU would be like for me. Feeling like going to schools growing up where I just kind of felt like an outsider. I was like, I'm gonna go to New York and like people are gonna like understand me. Like, I'm not gonna be the weird Indian looking girl in the hood. Like, it's gonna be worldly. And I get there and I feel just as ostracized, if not more, because yeah, everyone is like culturally aware, but they are so rich that I couldn't even wrap my head around the kind of wealth.
It took me until like maybe even junior year to really, really understand that I was at a private university. Like, I didn't really understand it because all these people who had gone to like private schools, or, you know, what's the one where the boarding schools and all these like fancy ass fancy name schools. And I was like, why did everybody go to these schools? And I went to public school. Like, what the fuck? And then finally it clicked. I was like, oh my God, you're the private school. Like, it's natural. That's the general trajectory.
It's crazy. I don't know. I feel like that school, NYU, it's so funny because it's up NYU. I teach at NYU in LA now, Professor Crystal.
They did not call you that.
Yes, they do. I told them not to call me Professor Boyd. I said, that is too old. But Professor Crystal will do. And basically for me, I'm teaching the class now that I wish I had back then. Mm-hmm. And that's my love letter to my 17-year-old self, is this class.
I love that.
Yeah, because we can talk about this. Like, once we got to the school,
yes,
it was like, what were we learning? And like, I do thank NYU at the time and Tish. You know, I learned to relax. I learned to release. We learned a lot of vocal warm-ups. You know, we learned how to get into our bodies. So I healed certain parts of my life, but we're also so young that it's like, oh my God, I don't even know myself as an artist yet. So, you know, some of that was a little cart before the horse. But one thing we did not get was we didn't learn the business. Mm-hmm. Like, there was not a single class of being like, this is how you get it. This is how you get into it. This is money in this business. This is all the side incomes you're going to need to sustain yourself if you don't come from a rich family. You know, like, all those things were not taught. So
yeah, I think that's one of my biggest criticisms with drama school, is that there was so much emphasis on the training. Just train. This is not a space where you're learning like business or like how to work. And I'm like, why? But why not? They specifically made a point to not allow us to audition in the real world, which I, at the time, was like, oh, okay, they just want this to be a safe space for artists. And I'm like, no, you wanted to make sure that you were getting your $50,000 every fucking year. Because if I would have booked something and had to leave, that's money not in your pocket but mine.
Yeah, I wasn't going to be coming back.
Did y'all ever go on an audition during school and or book one? Anyone?
No.
Mm-mm. I think during Stone Street. So Stone Street, Chana and I were in the same class that finals, or at least in the same weird school. It's
and
like
that's
a
the film
and television school, yeah. It was like a trend. To me, it was the most business-oriented
for sure
semester that you could opt to take, where it was like, okay, this is actually how you work on camera. Like, they brought people in. But I auditioned I was stopped on the street at Union Square.
My fantasy.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. But you know what? Guess what? I ruined the fantasy by being too eager, because they stopped me and they were like, oh my God, you're the perfect look for like this commercial for Nike. Like, do you want to audition for this Nike commercial? And I was like, oh my God, I also was like, discovered. Here we go. And so I was like, yes. And then she gave me her email and I followed up for the audition, but then I continued too thirstily and I was like, I just want to send my bio. Like, you know, I go to NYU and,
how long is this bio? Like, what?
Right, because what did you I didn't know anything about a commercial other than your name.
I was
didn't know what I
born.
needed. I was like, I go to Tish, and I have lots of theatrical experience.
And Ryan started early.
Look,
I can dance.
Yep, you got to. And I think it ran her way. I think she was like, this girl is like, you're just a pretty face. That's all we wanted. And that's the thing. Like, I didn't know. I thought, to book a commercial audition, you had to be a thespian and like have all this experience. And she was just literally like, no, you're the look. Show up, book the job. Let's get it. Like,
Right.
Right.
But I was like, oh, they want me to act. Like, let me let them know I can do that. Like, it was just so much. So the fantasy was ruined. I ruined the fantasy. But yeah.
Well, that's stronger than trying to get onto a main stage at NYU, because that was damn near impossible.
Oh my God. Those
Like,
main stages.
For them to say that, okay, you can't even audition in the real world, and then when you do audition for like main stages are the big productions that the drama school puts on, and it's how many, like 4? If
It's
that?
for one every
quarter.
But why am I saying quarter? But
2 to 4. I don't know. Nonetheless, it's like thousands of us actors and only but so many opportunities for you to even showcase your work. And they've revolved kind of the same couple actors in all of the productions.
Right. They had like their star makers. I felt like they had decided who was going to be main stage material.
Yeah.
On top of that, you guys remember when we had to like, as freshmen, intern and like work the main stages?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, when you washed thongs.
Yes, I was the thong washer. I was given the laundry department, and it was the production of Hair. And mind you, everyone was fully nude. I don't know why NYU likes people to get butt booty naked, but like pretty much almost all the productions had some form of nudity. And everyone was ass naked in this show. And the only thing they had was a thong that was the color of their skin, which was great. I'm glad they didn't make the black, actors wear white thongs. But then I had to carry all the thongs and wash them every day for the next show. That was my arrival at NYU.
Yeah. I was on lights, so.
I was box office. I had a great time. It was super fun.
But lights were great.
I think I never auditioned for any of the main stages too. I mean, I'm pretty sure I never did. First off, it was too many people. That was too much going on. But like also, I never really felt like any of them resonated with me. And that was also kind of a thing that was very tricky for me at NYU, where like a lot of the materials we were doing, there's no black people in them, right? And then it's just thinking, well, just make it, about your life. So I have to do so much extra work, right? Like so much of the burden is on me. And it's like, well, also, I mean, y'all could just use newer plays that are more diverse. Like we don't have to just do Arthur Miller like over and over. And so I think that was like a huge thing. And that was kind of some of the difficulty with my journey, because when I was hearing you talk about the things that it healed, I was like, damn, like for me, in ways it kind of set me back even like creatively, because I came in so confident, such an individual, obviously coming from a smaller pond of things, and really felt like I knew myself and my voice, and then went through this conservatory program where I felt like there was a lot of breaking down the things that are natural, like being told that the way I talk, I was only going to be able to play young mothers. You know what I'm saying?
Let's be real. Young ghetto mothers.
Yeah, 100%. You know what I'm saying? I'm from the south side of Chicago. Like, this is how I talk. The fact that I said red and didn't say red.
Right.
Voice and speech.
Voice and speech was so like how to sound white. That was
absolutely
the class. How to sound white.
Beating yourself out of you is what that class is.
Taking any bit of like individualism out of your voice and your mannerisms.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And now I think, and what blows me now is that all the success I have in my career is because I sound like a girl from the south side of Chicago.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying?
Part.
So there was like a lot of that. And I also felt like there was, when I would be anxious or nervous about things, which happened a lot because, we talked about being in this world that's so foreign, right? For so many reasons, that it was perceived as like aggression. And I think that happens a lot of times to Black people, particularly Black women, because the way we have tried to mask our anxiety, like how you try to still be strong in the face, and push through. And like at school, that I would get this feedback like, well, it just seems like you don't want to be here. And I would tell them, I'd be like, no, I'm scared. I'm so fucking scared. everything's on the line for me right now. Like, this is major. Like, it's not a joke for me, you know, and just, so that was like, it was, it was a tricky thing. Like, I feel like when I left, I had to like, I feel like I couldn't even act well after I left, you know, because I was so in my head and the things that naturally had aided me were gone. I had to like go back into myself.
You know, it's crazy because for me, when I mentioned the part where I was healing, it wasn't, let's be clear, there were 2 studios I was in. The first one was the musical theater studio, Cap 21, and that was not a healing place. That was a shuck and jive, tap dance, learn how to do everything for Rodgers and Hammerstein musical theater. I was learning how to sing to Oklahoma. Like, as a Black actor, before Hamilton in New York City, before colorblind was even a thing, right? We were being forced to learn how to be cowboys in some white man's Oklahoma. Like, what the hell? I'm not booking that. I don't want to be in that. Yeah. And also, Black people, we invented this genre, okay? Musical theater. Y'all should be studying us. And the funny thing is that they actually did. They had us, I forget those tap dancing brothers, those legends from the 30s. The Nicholas brothers. They had us sit down. I'm with these white kids in this musical theater class watching the Nicholas brothers. She's like, yeah, they really know how to do it, right? And I'm like, that's awkward. Like, why am I watching me and you guys being like, wow? And I was like, so I don't belong here. Cool, let me transfer. So I transferred out after 2 years. I went to ETW, and that's where I felt the best. I felt the best at NYU was at the experimental theater wing. Because it was less talking. It was literally just like more
rolling
getting to know
around
your own body.
That was my home studio. So
yeah, you explained ETW.
It was all physicality. We literally had a class where we rolled around on the floor, and I'm like, I need to be reimbursed for however much that hour cost me, because that's not right. We could have been filling time with something else. I'm only gonna learn my body with time. This 1 hour ain't gonna teach
me and you, we don't 100% align in this area. We've had this conversation before. I do think that there is an importance of, you know, art for art's sake, process for process sake. And I do think, like, in school, okay, the first 2 years, let's roll on the floor. Let's stare at each other for no reason. Let's move side to side. You know, like, let's do the whole shit, okay? But then those last 2 years, let's get serious. Because I'm getting ready to get out in the world.
And also, let's get specific. Like, I really feel like drama school kind of ruined my love for theater because it just kept showing me how much I didn't belong in it. Doing materials that I just didn't feel represented in. And I'm already, like, Ethiopian American. So, like, that's already just one level of just unrelatability. And so then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to lean into the Black shit. And most of theater is African American. So it's like, okay, let me lean into that. But then it's just like, it was always, nothing was like Black excellence. It's like, you're a slave, you're a housekeeper. I'm like, we're fucking excellent ass people. And I refuse to accept this narrative that, like, I just have to always play something fucking sad.
Absolutely. Tragic.
Or Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf or Shakespeare. I'm like, I don't see myself in these works. And I remember when I went to Stone Street, the film studio, and we got to bring in our own scene.
Yes, that was the best.
I brought in a scene from Low Down Dirty Shame.
Yes.
I played Jada's character, and he had such a hard time, and literally said, basically, he's like, I just feel like I'm doing like a Black scent. And I'm like, why? I have been doing white shit for 4 years in this motherfucker. And no one has ever catered to me. The 1 minute you get a role that originally had an actor that did not look like you, it's like I can't
a challenge.
This. And I'm like, this is so fucked up. This is so fucked up.
Absolutely.
And you couldn't really bring your best. But I don't get any of that consideration.
We did Color Purple.
Yes, we did. We did. We had some Black girls in our class, so I think it was like 3 of us. I forget, but I don't know if we had to enroll a white man. But
we did. We had Daniel. Daniel Glassstein.
Yeah.
But you know, he's about it. He's cool.
He's about it.
Yeah. But it's very fair. I feel like until then there was really like nothing. I mean, I had to play Belize and Angels in America.
Yes,
because I was the only Black person there, and Belize is. I mean, he's a man. He's a gay man. I'm not.
Yeah, I know. I have noticed that white people in white schools will put black women in masculine roles, and I think they tend to skew black women towards either, if it's drama school, a man's part, or even we've talked about auditions where it's like you're the butch girl, and it's like, do you not understand that our femininity? Like, this is outrageous.
And then for all of that to graduate and then be thrown into the real world with nothing really substantial. No agent, no manager, no connections. It's really just like who later in life this is going to come in handy because we're all going to be working kind of laterally of like, oh yeah, I went to school with this person. And that's where the NYU name really starts to flex. But like in that moment when we're all broke and trying to figure it out, it's like, well,
Sink or
shit,
swim.
we got like seriously figure it out.
What that just made me think of when you talk about like the lateral networking is there needs to be more intertwining of the different departments. Right?
Yes.
Like you have this school with this wealth of talent, but everyone should be meeting each other. Like the dramatic writing program should be writing for the film, department, and the film department needs to be casting their own, you know what I'm saying? So people could break out. Like it should just, you have everything. You have all the ingredients in one building. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's no lateral structure. At least there wasn't when we were there. I'm not sure what they're doing now. But
I
now it's like alumni networks where like you go out for jobs and you see like, oh my God, I have this general with somebody. They went to NYU. Great. That's a starting point. We have a relationship now.
Right.
So do you guys feel like having that on your resume has helped your career after? Like being able to say I went to NYU?
My greatest takeaway was y'all, to be honest. It really was. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people were fortunate to form a similar kind of collective where like we're real life best friends and we've also made a lot of money together.
Yeah.
And I would not be in this position if we hadn't met at that school. So that's truly my greatest takeaway.
Yeah.
But that's a network that I had to build on my own. I mean, they facilitated it, absolutely. All credit to NYU there.
Yeah.
But there are people that leave that are those are just like they're like those are my college friends, but like they don't have like long-standing relationships.
I think we were definitely ahead of the curve with that vision for ourselves to decide to. I mean, once we started auditioning, and I remember I had to sing with a banjo at a musical theater audition for some country show, and
that's been through it.
Look,
Seriously.
that's when I realized that this auditioning traditionally is not working for me, and I think we all had a similar experience, and
that's why we turned to
we
writing.
did our thing. Yeah, it was us turning to each other that like changed everything, because I think there are a lot of people, like you said, that didn't realize the getting to it exists right here laterally, like. Building here is where, the action is going to happen. And I think people probably had lonelier journeys than us. I know we had crazy journeys and we had low moments, but at least we had each other.
Yeah. It makes a difference.
And I really stand by, I do think that college tuition needs to be scaled to realistically how much money you're going to make with this degree. Because if I'm getting a drama degree and you getting a business degree, we should not be spending the same amount of tuition, baby. Because your ROI is a little bit more guaranteed than mine. So it needs to be a scale.
I mean, also, where's the endowment at, Tish? Because Harvard be paying
I can
people
tell you where it
down.
is, because my first job at NYU was at the NYU Phone-a-thon, which is where you call and you ask people to donate money, okay? And because I was from Tish, they were like, oh, we're going to put you on the Tish donors first. Baby, ain't no Tish donors. Tish people don't donate shit.
No.
I would call them.
Laugh.
I would start my thing. They would either laugh or they would cuss me out. Tear me up. How dare you call me? Do you know what I owe this school? I'm like, baby, I'm a freshman in college. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I just need to get a star on the board, because they would track, when you got a donor.
Yeah.
And I had to leave that job, I think, after 3 weeks, because I was just getting cussed out by Tish people so much. But that's why there's no endowment. It's a bunch of people who go there and then, maybe don't find the most success or whatever, or owe a bunch of money, and nobody from Tish donates. That's it. Maybe time, maybe time, but money, no ma'am.
But in your professorial pursuit, I feel like you need to start these little seedlings of conversations of like, hey guys, like this is what I think we could be doing better. And it's what I used to do when I was a mentor for like 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
There's an NYU in LA program that they have when recent graduates relocate to Los Angeles. They pair you up with an alum that has been in LA for a bit to kind of help you across the board with the whole transition. Not just like, oh, how do I get an agent? Just like, how do I get a car?
Yeah.
Like,
Ooh.
what neighborhood should I live in?
Yes.
Like, literally the full life transition, which I think is incredible. And through that, I was like able to like kind of sprinkle some things into like the career development office in their ears. Like, hey, like these kids are really lacking just an understanding, a general understanding of how this business works, of like how to talk to an agent,
Right.
how.
Right.
And like first of all, they're so focused on agents. Once like you ain't got nothing to do with agents at this moment. Just build yourself up.
Yeah.
Build yourself up, focus on yourself, and they're going to come to you. But I'm like, why in 4 years didn't we even have that kind of class?
Like a business boot camp or something. Yeah, that's wild. It's wild. I mean, I brought y'all to my class, and I've been trying to, as I teach these classes, like we'll do 30-minute seminars each class on just business. Like literally this last class we did the writer's room, like obviously not necessarily what you do in the writer's room, but how do you get into a writer's room? What samples do you need? Where do you start now? Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, let's talk about it. And it's funny because, you know, they asked certain questions and I was just like, oh, don't worry about your brand right now. Like, just like, you know, don't worry about pigeonholing yourself. You need to have some foundational basics in your sample, like knowing kind of how to say what your voice is at this time. That will evolve over time. But like you kind of have to learn how to market yourself. And they never taught us how to market ourselves.
Marketing classes should have been in the curriculum for sure. Because we are small businesses.
Right.
I was thinking, I just had a moment of, I think I did take some type of class on auditioning, and like, I think the teacher did give some feedback about my type, and I remember the teacher told me that I was a Samuel L. Jackson type.
I don't know what that means.
I mean, I love that man, but I am still trying to find out, you know, what that means.
Love
but
him
that
to
was,
pieces, but
that was my type. That's what I was given.
Did a teacher ever, bouncing off that, did a teacher ever play you out so badly? I mean, I'll give an example because I was twice. But one of my teachers, his name, I won't say it, but you know who you are, at Stone Street.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
I think I know too, but
He looked at me and he was like, I don't know what to do with you. He was like, I don't know. Like, who are you? He was like, I mean, you're pretty, but like, you know, I don't know. And he literally like looked at me and did this with his hand.
Exactly.
About now,
the same person who encouraged us to go into debt for our dreams. If you're not in credit card debt for your dream, then you don't want it bad enough. And I'm like, is this man preaching financial irresponsibility? I'm
Literally.
him was.
like, what?
Insanity. So you gotta really, you do have to know yourself. I'm glad each of us came to the school with a certain inner knowing, because it will tear you apart if you don't have that to start with.
Like Meg was saying, like a good thing about conservatory is that you can find your tribe. You know, because there are other people who we graduated with who definitely have their, you know, little NYU tribes. And I think they're holding each other up as much as we're holding each other up. So you can find your other weirdos, you know, because I similarly felt like always just weird. And then I met y'all and I was like, oh, they're weird too. Oh, and they look like me. Oh, like not exactly, but like me, you know? So I think conservatory is like useful for that, you know?
Yeah.
It's a good buffer too between your teenage self and the real world. And the real world is still going to hit you like a ton of bricks, but I guess maybe it softens the blow if you can get your tribe in that transitional period. So we are going to transition over to Bootleg Fabulous. And I have a question. What was your go-to struggle meal?
During
Now,
college or
even after. I'm thinking about like when we were living at 1990 Lex And the meal that really like inspired me came from this one right here. It is so cheap and it is so good. A motherfucking cheese quesadilla.
Oh,
yeah, that
making them
shit
cheese quesadillas.
At 3 o'clock in the morning.
A quesadilla.
And it costs maybe like what, $5?
Yeah,
This
and many can be made.
Cheese and salsa. That
Yeah.
shit is so good.
Yeah.
You literally just put a tortilla in the pan, sprinkle the cheese,
Yep.
flip it over, and dip it in.
Damn.
And that
Salsa.
was when we were living
Mad good.
in East Harlem, and there was only that Pathmark, and it had the wilted produce
Absolutely.
and broccoli. So
And
that was
if
a
you want to get
safe bet.
fancy, you could put some onions, you
Yes.
could put some
Yeah, but
vegetables,
no, you
whatever.
just
But
need the cheese.
basic cheese is fine too. It will fucking hit the spot
Wow.
every
Yeah.
time.
Any time of night.
I really do love cheese because when you said like, okay, you're struggling, I was like, I just remember when I would just eat a block of cheese and crackers. I fucking love cheese.
I think my struggle meal, I don't know, back in 1990 Lex days, I feel like I was just eating air, but I feel like I like to make spaghetti.
I'm about to say, I know what your
I
meal
used
was.
to make my
It was
spaghetti with the beef.
Alfredo.
Yes.
You used to make a lot of Alfredo.
Alfredo
yes,
pasta.
with beef in it.
Yeah.
Yes, but
I never seen that shit in my life. I never seen nobody
Yes.
put no beef in
It
Alfredo.
was spaghetti down with beef, and then yes, mixing Alfredo sometimes. I was getting experimental.
It was a no for me on
Yeah.
that. But
There's a lot of
beef.
beef. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Unglamorous Truths with the Downtown Girls. You can follow me at AmabitBayane.
You can follow me at _Chris.
And you can follow me at Chani.
And you can follow us at Unglamorous Truths and also listen to us wherever you get your podcasts.